So, what is it? Is is something, can something be both long and short? If yes, raise your hand. Okay. Uh, is it impossible for something to be both? So, in other words, therefore, there's, for instance, let's take a pencil. It's neither. Please raise your hand. Okay. Who would say the pencil is, so the first group have basically agreed that the pencil is both long and short. And who believes it's long but not short? And who believes it's short but not long? All right. Okay, so the first group, any one of you in the first group, who would like to volunteer to say why? What is your reason for saying so? Yeah, go ahead, Tupti.
Because depending on the person who's cognizing it, it would be either long or short. So if to me it would appear short, to Elroy it might appear long.
So because it's either long or short, therefore it must be both? For a particular person, it's either long or short, and therefore must be both? Or are you saying there are some people for whom it's long and some people for whom it's short?
The second
What?
one.
Oh, the second one. Okay, all right. Anyone else who'd like to add something to that?
It's both long and short, dependent upon what you're looking at it in relation to. So,
Okay, so it's relative in relation to other things. We can therefore say it's both long and short. What about beauty and ugliness?
Same.
Same. All right. Okay, now those of you who say it's short but not long, what are your reasons, please? Anyone who volunteers would like to volunteer?
My reasoning is,
Could you take the microphone?
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
My reasoning is just as it's valid to say that that liquid is water if you're a human,
Hmm.
and it's not valid to say that that liquid is like ambrosia or that it is pus and blood.
Hmm.
For me, that I'm a human, it is not accurate to say that a pencil is long. It's accurate to say that it's short, because with respect to me, my perception, my body, my world, it's a short thing.
It's a short thing. Are you saying because there's so much more stuff that is longer?
No, because no, I mean no, that's not my criterion.
So why do you say it's short?
Because like I don't know, I can handle it and manipulate it as if it was short. Like I can, yeah, I guess with respect to my body, it's short.
Ah, in relation to your body. But your
I
body is
guess.
made of subtle atoms.
Yeah.
So in relation to what your basic building block are atoms. And so in relation to what makes your body, what is your body, it's terribly long.
No, but I mean my body as a whole, like there's a convention of how like I am a meter and I don't know 70 something. So
And your
that's
tiny little finger, that's probably shorter than it's probably shorter than the pencil, but you can lift it even with your small finger, depending on how dexterity your finger is, you can do quite a lot with that pencil. So in relation to your finger, it's actually okay. Never mind. All right. So in relation to your entire body, okay, so you're saying in relation to your entire body. So, but
yeah,
if it's in
that's actually
relation
how I
to a
was thinking
tiny
about.
person, like in relation, let's say, to a mosquito, in relation to a mosquito,
Yeah,
the pencil is short or long?
long.
So is the pencil therefore long? Because in relation to that mosquito, it's long.
I guess if you ask the mosquito, he will
No,
answer
no,
it.
no. I'm saying in general. I'm not saying I'm just asking, is the pencil long or short? What it is for you, I know. But
Yeah.
since they're smaller living beings, I'm wondering, is it also fair to say it is, well, if it's long because it's long for Gonzalo's, then it's only fair to say it's also short. It's also no, sorry, it's short in relation to Gonzalo. Therefore, we
Mm.
can say it is short. Likewise, if it's long in relation to the mosquito, it's just fair to say it's therefore long, which means you have just entered the other group. If you agree. If you
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, never mind. Let's leave it there. I mean, I don't think there's a general answer kind of
Oh, there
that
isn't?
yeah, the thing.
There isn't?
Never
Wow,
mind.
we
Never
just
mind.
lost heat and cold and light and dark and all these adjectives are out of the window. We can no longer determine whether they exist or not. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So there's still Kelsey and Venerable Tekcho. I believe you raised your hand together with Gonzalo. What are your reasons?
Okay, my reasoning is that it's short because part of its function is to be short so that you can, it's
Oh,
made for
that's
your
so
person to be
nice.
able to use it. So you
It's
can hold it in your hand. That's my reasoning.
That's such a beautiful reason. It's short because part of its function is to be short. Okay. What about the mosquito?
It's not made for mosquitoes.
It wants to ride it. Chelsea, it wants to ride it like a bull. It's a bitch mosquito.
Okay, Venerable Tekcho, anything to add to that?
No.
Sorry. Yeah, well, anyway, think about it. Some of these ideas are really difficult. I mean, first of all, because they exist in relation to other things, of course, right? I mean, everything actually exists in relation to other things. So that relativity comes in. And although we're dealing with Sautantrika, Sautantrika, therefore they don't really explain relativity to the same degree as the Prasankikas would, but they still very much accept that something is long in relation to something shorter and so forth. But it's an interesting topic and very important, of course, once you study Prasangika. And as we know, everything you're studying is in preparation for the Prasangika. So there's no harm in reflecting on it and meditating, debating on it. And of course, if you can, meditate possibly on it. Great. Okay. So that's about long and short. Any more questions or any questions on the wrong consciousness so far?
I actually had a question.
Yes, please.
So it said that the definition of a distorted cognition or wrong consciousness is a mind that engages its main object in a distorted manner.
Yes.
So it is referring to the object of engagement, right? Main object. Well, yeah, engage is its main object, I guess.
Wow.
Object of engagement.
Well, what do you think? I mean, the definition.
Yeah,
Okay, let me just go back to the definition. Wait, let's just a sec.
Mind in Tibetan Buddhism says.
In mind in Tibetan Buddhism is different.
Yeah, it says that specifically, object of engagement.
Yeah, it's a knower which is mistaken with regard to its object. It says object of operation. I think that's probably a typo, or
Yeah, they've clarified it at the end. It's
exactly. They say object of engagement, and the definition in Tibetan actually says juyul, and juyul means object of engagement. In fact, the Sautrantika school's definition, the definition that is given in the Sautrantika school, is what is given in mind in Tibetan Buddhism. The definition in science and philosophy, that is the definition given in the Prasangika school. In the Prasangika literature, you find that definition, which I find curious because all the other definitions are basically Sautrantika, but this one is Prasangika. I just can't find it right now. What does it say exactly about the object?
So in the definition in the
Science and philosophy.
Science and philosophy, it says the definition of a distorted cognition is a mind that engages its main object in a distorted manner.
Its main object. Okay. Wow, what is its main object? What is the main object?
I think it's the object of engagement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it also uses the word engages, like the mind that engages its main object. So that kind of also makes me
Right,
think.
but just the object of engagement is not enough because you have many different types of object of engagement, right? It's not just the vase, for instance, in the case of an eye consciousness apprehending vase. It's also not vase and so forth. And
I
now, of
see.
course, with a wrong consciousness, it's different, but still, yeah. So, well, I'm wondering, for instance, whether I'm trying to think of like the blind person, a wrong consciousness that is a body consciousness. So you're kind of touching the vase, but you mistakenly believe the vase to be rough, whereas actually you've got something sticking on your hands. I don't know if you've ever made chapatis. When I made chapatis, I've got lots of stuff sticking on my hands. So if I then touch a smooth vase, it would feel like the vase is rough. Now, in the continuum of a blind person, if they touch the shape of the vase, um, then they may mistakenly believe that smooth vase to be rough, having stuff sticking to their hands. And so implicitly, what is their object of engagement? The shape of a rough vase, of a non-smooth vase, like or a vase with a rough surface. Therefore, in this case, you have a wrong consciousness which has two objects of engagement, an explicit object of engagement and an implicit object of engagement. But what is the main object of that person's, let's say the blind person, or even if it's not a blind person, that person's body consciousness? What's the main object? Is it the shape of the vase, or is it the the tactile aspect of the vase?
I think it's the tactile aspect, right? Like
Yeah,
the
that's the
reference.
main object. So it's actually mistaken also with regard to its implicit object. But since we talk about uh, the definition here, and we're looking at the main object that the mind engages in, yes, it's absolutely what you just said. Exactly.
So
Great.
the main object is not necessarily the explicit, it's not necessarily explicit.
It's always the explicit object.
It's always the explicit.
It's always that which appears and is engaged in.
I
And it's
see.
that which is literally indicated by the phrase that describes that mind. Like when we say body consciousness apprehending the tactile aspect of the vase. That is from that phrase, you know already what is its main object.
Mm. I
Okay.
see. And also we said that if a mind is like distorted with regards to its main object, to its object of engagement, it's
Yeah.
also necessarily mistaken with regards to its appearing object, right?
Is it or is it not?
It's necessarily mistaken.
Is it? What do you think?
Well, I was thinking that that's what we said, but
It doesn't matter what we said. I want to
yeah.
know what you think.
Well, I actually had some doubt with regards to like the phrase mistaken with regard to its appearing object in general, like to that with
Okay.
that expression in general, because like it sounds like you have an appearing object and then you don't apprehend it in the way that it's appearing. But then that doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. Well, Gonzalo, could you formulate it in the form of a debate now? If you say this definition doesn't make sense, so that seems to imply it cannot be the definition of a mistaken mind. Now, what is it? Is whatever is the definition is not necessarily a mistaken mind, or whatever is a mistaken mind does not fulfill the definition? What do you think?
Um,
Or if you
okay,
can't do
I
it
think
spontaneously, you can do it tomorrow. Then you have a personal homework.
okay. No, okay,
Right?
I can try. I can try by saying that if it is the
Okay.
definition, it's not necessarily mistaken.
Okay,
No,
if
actually,
the ob
sorry. No, I think I need to think about it.
yeah,
I
think
think
about it.
think
Think
about
about
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Great. Everyone remember, please, tomorrow.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Now let's look at the text, Mind in Tibetan Buddhism. Wrong consciousness. The definition of a wrong consciousness is a knower, which is mistaken with regard to its object of engagement, right? So it doesn't say main object, but even in the case of the wrong consciousness that I gave you earlier, the case that I mentioned earlier, the body consciousness that is mistaken with regard to the roughness of the vase or the smoothness of the vase. Still, it's mistaken with regard to both its object of engagement and its main object of engagement and its implicit object of engagement. Okay. It is necessary that this definition says object of engagement and not just object, for all thought consciousnesses are mistaken with regard to their own objects, in that they're all mistaken with regard to their appearing objects, since images of their objects seem to be images, or meaning generalities of their objects seem to be the actual thing, or generalities seem to be the actual things. Thus, if one posits it as the definition of a wrong consciousness, a knower which is mistaken with regard to its own object, one would have to say that inferential prime cognizers, such as those realizing impermanence and selflessness, are wrong consciousnesses, and this is not suitable. Oh, that would be a disaster. Because they're so important to gaining a correct understanding of reality, and to say they're wrong consciousnesses, well, then they're no longer valid, they're no longer beneficial in our attempt to understand reality. These consciousnesses are not mistaken with regard to their objects of engagement, impermanence, and selflessness, and thus are not wrong consciousnesses. Okay. Another definition sometimes posited is a knower which is mistaken with regard to its determined object. This too is incorrect, because determined objects are not posited for non-conceptual consciousnesses. Yeah, here also in that translation, determined, we had that discussion yesterday, like an indeterminate perception seems to imply that they're determinate perceptions or direct perceptions. And as far as I know, here at least the word determine is a translation of the word shemba, shenyu, and it's the same. I mean, I would not translate it as determined object. I would translate it as conceived object. So conception takes place in a conceptual mind. So conceptual mind has a conceived object, and an eye consciousness doesn't. Anyway, yeah. So here the definition would, of course, not be correct, because it only applies to conceptual minds, to wrong conceptual minds. And that such awarenesses as sense consciousnesses perceiving blue snow mountains, which are in fact wrong consciousnesses, could not fulfill the definition. Okay. So therefore, the definition given by Geshe Jampe Sampe, he's the textbook author of the Lorig text that is the basis for mind in Tibetan Buddhism. Given by is that found in most textbooks. So the definition given above. Then Geshe Jampe Sampe says when wrong consciousnesses are divided, there are two. Well, conceptual and non-conceptual. Illustrations of conceptual wrong consciousnesses are a thought consciousness apprehending the horns of a rabbit, and a consciousness apprehending a self of persons. Yeah, that's all clear, I guess. One could also posit a thought apprehending a blue snow mountain, or a thought apprehending a white conch shell as yellow. A conceptual mind, yeah, apprehending whatever, white conch shell. That's usually the example given is that of a person who suffers from jaundice. And we heard before, in very serious cases of jaundice, it's actually possible that everything appears yellow. There are two types of non-conceptual wrong consciousnesses, sense and mental. Wrong consciousnesses are, for example, a sense consciousness seeing two moons, or a sense consciousness to which a snow mountains appears blue, or snow mountains appear blue. A wrong mental consciousness is, for example, a dream consciousness to which blue clearly appears. That's a little debatable. Because if you're like a lucid dreamer, if you know this is not blue, it's actually just a dream. But since blue clearly appears, and it doesn't say to which dream blue appears, I guess you could say there's a distinction. We say there is no elephant in a dream, but there's a dream elephant. So there's a dream elephant that's like the reflection of an elephant, the mere appearance of an elephant. So if you know a dream elephant, you know the dream elephant to be just that, a dream elephant. It's not a wrong consciousness. But when you believe that dream elephant to be an actual elephant, so an elephant clearly appearing to your mind, based on what is the focal object of that wrong consciousness? Just as with the eye consciousness apprehending rabbit horns, the focal object is what? The focal object of the mind apprehending the horns of a rabbit. What's the focal object?
Rabbit ear?
The rabbit ears. Yes, the rabbit ears. Now, in the case of a dream consciousness apprehending an elephant, what is the focal object?
Dream elephant.
The dream elephant. So, therefore, on the basis of a dream elephant, what clearly appears as an elephant, that would be a wrong consciousness. So, similarly, here, from the way it's expressed, a dream consciousness to which, and you could add that in brackets, on the basis of the focal object, a dream blue. Blue clearly appears. That's a wrong consciousness.
So
Yes,
the
yes, please.
the example given here is a mental direct perceiver, like a non-conceptual mental consciousness. Wouldn't
Just
be a
because
direct perceiver.
well, it could be according to, for instance, Lama Tsongkhapa's Ocean of Reasoning, his commentary, his word commentary on fundamental wisdom, Arya Nagarjuna's fundamental wisdom. In there, he actually says there are some dream consciousnesses to which are direct perceivers, which are non-conceptual. Well, actually, direct perceivers. But if they're direct perceiving dream consciousnesses, there could also be non-conceptual wrong dream consciousnesses, I suppose. But just because something clearly appears doesn't mean it's a non-conceptual mind.
But this example is of a non-conceptual mind, right?
No, a wrong mental consciousness is, for example, it doesn't specify. It says, oh yeah, sorry. Yes, you're right. There are two types of non-conceptual wrong consciousnesses. Yes, you're right. I forgot that part. Yes, absolutely. So that would be based on what Lama Tsongkhapa says. Yes, in this case, it would be a non-conceptual wrong consciousness. You're right. Yes.
So would it be like, would this be similar to like seeing your reflection in a mirror? Like the eye consciousness is just a wrong consciousness.
Yes. Yes.
But even if you believe it, even if you don't believe it, the eye consciousness is still wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. However, I think there's a difference. With the eye consciousness, you can have a mental consciousness that arises a moment later that doesn't believe that. I don't think in a dream, unless you have lucid dreams, I don't think if you believe, like if blue appears to you, and you believe that to be actual blue, or the elephant to be an actual blue, I'd be surprised if a moment later, or because you're so familiar with that a moment later, you know this is wrong. You could maybe later on when you wake up through memory, kind of remember, kind of go back and think, oh, what did I dream? Oh, there was an elephant. Then you know with a mental consciousness in that moment, you're aware that was a dream. But you know, like with the mirror image, we know we've known since we were little that our face, the image or the reflection of our face is not our face. So there's never any mental consciousness a moment later that believes this is really our face, unless you're like me. But usually, in the example I gave you, but never mind. So usually people don't make that mistake. Here in the case of the wrong mental consciousness that is a dreaming mind, I'm wondering, could there be, if you're really used to these dreams and you're a lucid dreamer, could you have a moment of wrong consciousness, but a moment later, no, that's not true? No, maybe, like, you know, like you just, because I've been told that people can train this, of course, in the Buddhist texts anyway. There's so many meditations where you train in dream yoga, but even unrelated to dream yoga, I've been told that people can actually train in that for whatever reason, just out of fun. That is relatively easy. I don't know how easy it is. So maybe if you're in the beginning stage, you're fooled by a few moments of a dream mind, like have a wrong consciousness, but then right away your attention sets in and you become aware, oh no, that's impossible. Yeah, maybe that's, I don't know. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
not that. Yeah,
It's
please.
usually you're caught up in the dream, and then at some point something makes you question it, and then at that point you can realize that you are dreaming. So usually it does
Oh.
start with you're caught up in the dream in the beginning normally.
Ah, great. Are you a lucid dreamer? Can you do lucid dreaming?
I practiced for a little while.
Okay. Ah, interesting. All right. Ah, very interesting. Okay, thank you. So that answers it. Yeah. There's a discussion as to whether dream consciousnesses are here. It also mentions, whether dream consciousnesses are conceptual or non-conceptual. People tend to think they're conceptual. However, Tsongkhapa does appear to say at one point in his Ocean of Reasoning, explanation of Nagarjuna's treatise on the middle way,
There's an unwanted student in
I was
there.
going to say, yeah. Treats on the middle way of fundamental wisdom, that there are non-conceptual ones as well. This concludes the division of awarenesses and knowers into 7. Why is such a division made? Some say it is to eliminate wrong views, such as the nihilist assertion that direct perception is the only prime cognizer, or the Vaisheshika assertion that there is no subsequent cognizer. I feel that is mainly made for the sake of identifying the various types of minds. Okay, so that's Latu Rinpoche's comment, and we know by now that there's another reason for discussing wrong consciousnesses, and of course, it's from the point of view of getting from a wrong mind to a correct mind. That kind of progression of knowledge, or the way to gain an understanding of reality. Okay. Let's then look at doubt in science and philosophy. Doubt may be explained by way of the following illustration. Suppose within one's own mind stream there's a wrong, distorted conviction that sound is permanent. I mean, sound is permanent, or the I exists inherently in whatever. So let's take this example. Sound is permanent, or a table is permanent. When one investigates whether there is any valid cognition that refutes the object as cognized by a wrong consciousness such as this, and when someone else presents a correct consequence of one's own position that shows that sound is impermanent, and when one reads and critically reflects on treatises that establish sound to be impermanent, the conviction that sound is permanent loosens. I really like that. I think it's a nice way of putting it. Yeah, it's literally in Tibetan also like saying it loosens. I guess we've all had that experience when we came to Buddhism. I mean, first we were convinced when it came to the self, when it came to, I don't know, permanence, impermanence, but after whatever happened, then that conviction loosened. At this point, there arises a doubt not tending toward fact. Okay, so maybe maybe sound is permanent, but maybe not, probably is. That's how it's usually expressed in Tibetan. So, for instance, someone explains to you why sound is impermanent or why your body is impermanent and so forth. So then there may be that moment when you feel, oh, maybe it's impermanent. Oh, but probably not. Or maybe there is no self. Ah, but probably there is. So that would be tending away from the fact. The thought that sound is only probably permanent. When one again analyzes in detail whether there's a refutation of the object as cognized by a cognition holding sound to be permanent, there arises a balanced doubt. Sometimes they call it equal doubt. I think in Mind in Tibetan Buddhism, it's called equal doubt, balanced doubt, like thinking, oh, maybe it is, maybe it's not, kind of being not tending toward either permanence or impermanence. So that's a balanced or equal doubt. Then when one analyzes the meaning of that more deeply, what is better, balanced doubt or equal doubt?
Equal sounds.
I think so too, right? I mean, I'm thinking maybe I'm just so used to saying it that way, but in Tibetan it has more this connotation. Balance is like,
Yeah,
it's kind of
Something that's
with
equal.
equal strength. Pardon?
Balance is usually like that's a good thing if it's balanced.
Balance, right? Balance is something good. I've got a balanced wrong view, huh? I've got a balanced doubt. Yeah, so it's got like a positive connotation. Equal is kind of like with equal strength. A thought that sound may or may not be permanent. Then, when one analyzes the meaning of that more deeply than before, and when someone else posits a correct proof statement showing that sound is impermanent, so a proof statement is just another way of saying positing a correct reason. So the correct reason is more the actual thing that is expressed by the proof statement. So the proof statement are the words are is the linguistic version of a correct reason. I probably studied that already, didn't you? Okay. Showing that sound is impermanent, there arises a doubt tending toward the fact, the thought that probably sound is impermanent. Okay. Now these are the three types of doubt, and they'll be repeated, they'll be again explained in Mind in Tibetan Buddhism. So tending away from the fact, tending toward fact, as it's called here, tending not tending toward fact, equal doubt, tending toward fact. Those are the three types. Now the definition of doubt is a cognition that on its own vacillates between two standpoints with uncertainty about the object. Okay. So first I thought, because in Tibetan it says tokpa. Tokpa has different meanings, but here in this context, it actually means being uncertain. So uncertainty is also mentioned here, but then this verb vacillates. In Tibetan, it doesn't actually have that verb. But the thing is, it's not a literal translation, but it's not wrong. I don't know whether I would use vacillate. I would use wavers of its own accord. I would say it differently, like a cognition that wavers of its own accord between two positions concerning the object. I think that's a closer translation to the original, or to be more, oops, sorry, I forgot to switch off my, or to be more literal, a cognition that of its own accord is of its own accord uncertain about two positions concerning its object. Anyway, that's more a literal translation, but I have no problem with this one here. It's clear. As long as it's clear, it's fine. A cognition that on its own wavers or vacillates between two standpoints with uncertainty about the object. Two standpoints with uncertainty about the object. So what is the object? Right? What is the object? In the example, sound is impermanent. In the phrase vacillates between two standpoints with uncertainty is impermanent, is one standpoint, and it's not impermanent is the other standpoint. It's a weird sentence. Anyway, yeah. So two standpoints is that one is, sorry. Wait, let me just put this on silence. Can you actually hear my phone?
No.
Oh, you can't. Then I don't need to put on silence. Okay. All right. Now here there are two standpoints. One is sound is permanent. One is sound is impermanent. Okay. So first of all, take the subject out. It follows that it must be uncertain about two standpoints.
Except.
Okay. Take the subject doubt that wonders whether sound is permanent, whether sound is a vase, and whether sound, what happened? Oh, I was like, was that so funny what I just said? Okay. All right. Yeah. It sticks actually. This camera sticks to the back, but it doesn't always stick. Even I lick it, but it doesn't stick. Okay. Again, what did I say? Oh, so take the subject doubt. Let's say doubt with regard to a particular person, not knowing, is it Maya, is it Venerable Tekcho, or is it Kelsey? It follows it is not doubt because it doesn't waver between two standpoints. It wavers between three.
No
No pervasion.
No pervasion. So it follows that it does waver between two. It's uncertain with regard to two standpoints.
Except, yeah,
Why?
because it's uncertain with regard to whether it's Maya or Venerable Pekchok.
Or Kelsey.
Or Kelsey. Or Kelsey. You forgot Kelsey. Yeah, because if there's three, there's two. Okay, yeah. All right. I get that. So that makes sense. So there's always at least two. Absolutely. So what about one moment of doubt? It follows that there's one moment of doubt.
Why?
Why?
So it follows there's no one moment of doubt.
Except no. No one moment. Oh.
Why?
Is there one moment of doubt? Can you have a one moment of doubt?
Doubt.
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what would that moment mean? What does that consist of? One moment where the sub moments are exactly the same as the other moments? Is that possible?
Yeah. Only one moment of doubt is that
So wouldn't you at least have like, maybe it's permanent, maybe it's not. At least have two moments that are, maybe this person is Kelsey, maybe it's Maya. Those are different moments, right? Have different objects.
And what if you perceive something and you're just like, what is this?
What is this? Exactly. What is this?
But that's not doubt.
That's not doubt. That's more a question.
That's an indeterminate, right? Consciousness. No. Yeah, which
No,
is
no.
not.
You would indeterminate it is, but actually not indeterminate in the sense here. It's not an indeterminate perception.
Right.
You're just wondering, what is this? Yeah, that's none of the minds. That's none of those seven minds.
A wrong consciousness?
A wrong consciousness?
I actually think there can be one moment of doubt.
So it can be one mind. Can it be one mind? Can doubt be one mind?
Yeah.
Well, it follows that it cannot be one mind because at least it has to have two different moments. Is it or is it not? It follows it has to vacillate.
Yeah, I think is it without knowing is already that. Just the moment of like, is it this?
You must have two standpoints. You must be uncertain with regard to two standpoints. Therefore, it follows these two standpoints have to appear to the mind.
It could be, is it red?
But then, okay, is it red? That's a question.
Yeah.
That's a questioning mind.
It's not doubt.
It follows it's not a doubting mind because it's a questioning mind. So it has to have, think of the definition. It must waver or must be uncertain at the very least. So the Tibetan doesn't say vacillate, but it says it must be uncertain of its own accord. So it must be uncertain about two positions, about two standpoints concerning its object, right? So it must be uncertain. So two standpoints. In order to be uncertain about two standpoints, these two standpoints have to appear.
So if it is implicit, if I say, is it red? Am I implicitly thinking it's
either red or not red?
Yeah, it is not red.
How do you implicitly think? How do you implicitly think?
When you laugh.
You're coming up with great stuff, but I just don't know how to do this to implicitly think.
Leonardo, your camera again, like.
Oh, that's why you're laughing. I thought that was good. I was cracking a good joke. Oh, okay.
That just happened to me at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, watch it now.
It's when you joke. It's when you joke that the camera.
Ah, it's looking. It's going. Oh my God. All right. All right. Anyway, so what do you think?
Sorry. I think if you're doubting about one position, you're also doubting about its direct contradictory, about the thing that is directly
Don't you, right? Is it a vase or not?
So then your doubt, you already have two objects there, right?
You have already two objects there. Is this a vase? That's just a question. Is it a vase? But it's kind of like I know why Venerable Benjamin says implied in that is actually is it not as well. But to be doubt, to be actual doubt, just to question is probably not enough. You need to have these two standpoints, right? And if I were, let's say the person is actually Janine, right? So the person that I'm seeing is actually Janine, but I'm wondering, is it Kelsey or is it Maya? It follows that is doubt.
Accept.
It follows it's not doubt because it's a wrong consciousness. Because in either case, it's distorted. It's not Maya and it's not Janine. No, sorry, it's not Kelsey.
No pervasion. I think that is a wrong consciousness.
So it follows it's a wrong consciousness?
Except.
Oh, there's a common locus. There's something that is both a distorted mind and a distorted mind or a wrong consciousness and doubt.
Except.
Isn't wrong consciousness necessarily decisively wrong?
Why?
Because it's the wrong consciousness. No, that's not
Because it's not vacillating between two minds. It's wrong.
I mean, there's this debate, and I guess there's no correct. I mean, if you say that a wrong consciousness can also refer to just its object doesn't exist, then in that case, right? Like for instance, the definition in the Satantrika school, it's object of engagement. What is it? It's object of so it's mistaken with regard to its with its object of engagement. Definitely, you can say it's mistaken. It wonders whether it's one of the two. So, but there, some would say no. This decisiveness is part of a wrong consciousness. You're convinced.
You're convinced.
You're convinced. A wrong consciousness must be convinced. Like it's definitely this or that. But that's a matter of assertion. So when we debated doubt, for instance, that kind of debate came up, saying, what about the mind that I just gave you an example of? Is this person who's actually Janine wondering, is she Maya or is she Kelsey? In this case, in both cases, the mind is wrong. It's neither none of the two. However, because the mind doubts, is not decisively wrong. A wrong consciousness, or to give you another example, for instance, regarding the subject, a mind whose the object of which doesn't exist, is that necessarily doubt or wrong consciousness?
This object doesn't exist.
Yeah, whose main object, whose object of engagement, whose main object of engagement doesn't exist. It follows. Pardon?
Wrong.
Is it necessarily a wrong consciousness?
Not necessarily.
Is it necessarily something to be abandoned?
Agree.
Yes.
Take the subject Tonglen meditation.
Oh.
It follows it's not something to be meditated because it's an object to be eliminated because it's a wrong consciousness. Its object doesn't exist. I cannot take all your suffering and give you all my happiness.
Not
Right? There's no pervasion. So if its main object doesn't exist, that doesn't necessarily mean it's either doubt or a wrong consciousness. So why is that mind not a wrong consciousness? Why is that mind that visualizes I take all your suffering, or that visualizes or that wishes to become a Buddha after all of you have become a Buddha, wishing you to go first, like shepherd, like bodhicitta, right? Instead of wishing myself to become enlightened first for the benefit of all sentient beings, just for the sake of training, if I find my self-centeredness is really strong, and so therefore I want to become a Buddha fast. If I catch myself having that kind of desire, then I could apply another technique, which would be to visualize, I'll take you to enlightenment first and I go last, which is totally unrealistic, but it's said to be effective for some practitioners. So visualizing or aspiring for me to be able to take all of you to enlightenment and then to become enlightened myself. That type of mind, it follows it's a wrong consciousness.
Why?
Because its object doesn't exist.
No observation.
Okay. So what is the difference then between the minds that I just gave you examples of and a wrong consciousness?
You
It's
don't
not,
believe.
it's not mistaken with regards to its object.
Yeah, exactly. You know it's unrealistic. So you purposely generate that mind, knowing it's not realistic, but utilizing it because it's an effective method. Yeah. Okay. Though these are all debates that come up in this context. Not difficult to answer, but still something to reflect on. Anyway, going back to the text, unless you have any question. Okay.
Oh, I have a.
Yes. Yes.
So, would it be fair? Would it be like okay to say like the wrong consciousness, if it's conceptual, then it's sort of like an incorrect assumption.
A wrong consciousness.
It's like an.
If it's conceptual, it's an incorrect assumption. A
It's like a
correct
correct
assumption.
assumption, except it's incorrect.
Ah, yichu, yichu lopa. I'm trying to think of the Tibetan word. I guess in English you could say that. In Tibetan, I'm not. Yeah, in a way you're right, because if you're convinced, there must be a degree of conviction. Well, unless only if you believe there's no common locus between a wrong consciousness and a doubting mind. As I said, there are different positions on that. So if you saying, yeah, you have to be kind of convinced, you have to be, there must be a certain degree of, there must be some degree of certainty. Then I guess you could say, okay, yes, it's a wrong assumption. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ichulokpa. Ichulokpa. Yeah, maybe you can even say that. You could debate it, but I mean, let's look at correct assumption first and then go back to that debate. Okay. All right. Anything further? No? Okay. All right. The definition of doubt is a cognition. The compendium of ascertainments. The compendium of ascertainments says, just a sec. Compendium of Asangas, yeah. So the compendium of ascertainment says, what is doubt? It is any uncertainty in the sense of having two mental attitudes or two objects. What is doubt? It's any uncertainty in the sense of having two mental attitudes or two objects. All right. Both actually need to apply. Actually, here it's like, is it or is it not? You're wavering. So or actually should be and, but there's no contradiction. If it's both, it's also or would also apply. Am I making sense? So two mental attitudes, is it this or is it that? To have two objects, you can't take both objects to mind at the same time, especially since doubt is a conceptual mind. So it would at least consist of two moments. Is it this or is it that? But it's still true what Anastasia says. Like if you're wondering, oh, is that a vase? Is that a vase? Yeah, in a way, that just moment of thought, you're not actually thinking, or is it not? I mean, you allow the possibility in terms of part of your doubt. Maybe it's actually correct to say this is a doubting mind, but then you don't have two standpoints. Yeah. One is only implicit, but I don't think that this is what is meant here. Hmm. Okay. Anyway, it's something to debate.
I think if you said, is it a vase, you would first have had to have the thought that it's not a vase. Or you
Do you?
wouldn't
Do you?
question that. No.
But if you can't see it from afar, oh, is that Kelsey? Do I have to first go, oh, it's not Kelsey. Oh, is it? Right? I could just see someone who looks like you, has got your height and so forth, longish, like long hair, and then just go, oh, is that Kelsey? And this is not even a question. I mean, like, it does give rise to a question if I formulate, if I put it into words, but there's that doubting aspect. I mean, that's the whole thing about that wavering kind of quality of the mind. However, I doubt whether I really have to think first, oh, it's not. I don't think I have to
But
do
I
that.
think if, like in that circumstance, you wouldn't have been expecting to see me, or maybe you saw a figure and just, not put any label on it or thought it was somebody else before.
Oh, you mean like a moment before I even had that? I mean, the eye consciousness first has to perceive it and
Yeah.
understand that there is a person in the first place. That is true.
Mm.
I guess that's true. First, there's an eye consciousness perceiving the shape of a person, the shape and color of a person, giving rise to a mental consciousness, also acknowledging a person. And that would then be followed, but I don't necessarily have to think this is not Kelsey,
Maybe not.
right?
But Deshima,
Yes.
can there be a mind that is none of these seven?
Are there minds that are none of these seven?
Yeah, can you have a mind that is none of these seven?
Think about it. For all of you, can you think of a mind that is none of the seven? Are these
Exhaustive.
Exhaustive division.
exhaustive? Are these exhaustive? Is this an exhaustive division, or are there other minds?
I think you just gave an example of one, right?
Yeah.
With the
The questioning
spread
mind.
light bodhicitta. And also the question.
Ah, yes. Okay. Bummer. No homework for you guys. Yeah, you're right. It's true. No, they're not. It's not an exhaustive division.
I see. I see. I see.
So, but the question would still be, why do you have these seven?
I guess it's because it illustrates how you go from like
That's only six.
something
That's only six.
6.
One is not included.
No doubt.
Awareness to which the object appears but is not ascertained is part of those seven, but you don't need to have like an inattentive perception in order to come to a correct understanding.
Right.
Remember in the very beginning, it gave like a quick overview, like a short overview, how you get from wrong view to a direct perception. It didn't mention inattentive perception.
I've heard the Sakyas don't have that as one of the divisions.
Pardon?
I've heard that I think the Sakyas don't have that as one of their divisions. Is that correct? Do you know?
Who doesn't have it?
Sakyas.
The Sakya? Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry.
I think they have five. They divide it into five. That's my understanding, anyways.
Ah, okay. I don't know. And it depends on probably which Sakya text, like all the Lorig texts in the Sakya tradition or just specific ones. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I don't have an answer to that. Two objects. When categorized, there are three types: doubt not tending toward the fact, balanced doubt or equal doubt, and doubt tending toward the fact. The first is a mental factor, thinking, for example, that sound is either permanent or impermanent, though probably permanent. The sound is a mental factor. The second is a mental factor, wondering, for example, whether sound is permanent or impermanent. So both ways, not tending either way. And then the third one is a mental factor, thinking, for example, that sound is either permanent or impermanent, though probably impermanent. Great, that's that. Now, mind in Tibetan Buddhism. Let's look at that because this is interesting what Lati Rinpoche adds to it. Now, without reading it all, reading the whole thing, I'll just kind of go through it a little bit quickly. So that's on page 108. Now we're going backwards because the order, the sequence in this text is the more standard sequence. 108. When doubting, oh no, sorry, that's no, it's 106, yes. So doubting consciousness. What's the definition? It's a knower which by its own power has qualms in two directions. Has qualms in two directions. The reason for saying by its own power or on its own accord, this is interesting because like we never ask why does it say on its own accord or through its own power or on its own. Why? Well, it's because it's a mental factor. And this qualification eliminates that the main mind and other mental factors which have similarity with it are doubt. Now, this is an interesting Introduction to Mind and Mental Factors, which we'll go through anyway as part of this course or this class. We'll, to some degree, we don't need to go into that many details, but what is the difference between these main minds and mental factors? What is their relationship? I mean, there are these analogies given. Have I already explained what the difference is? Did I explain this to you guys? No, I didn't. Okay. All right. So we distinguished the analogies given of, for instance, does anyone know an analogy that is given for a mind and a mental factor?
The Prime Minister and the cabinet.
Yeah, so the hand, oh, gave it away again. Kept doing that. So the hand, the palm of the hand is like the main mind, and the fingers are the mental factors. But there's a problem with that analogy, a big problem. Then there's other analogies. For instance, a candle, the candle itself is like the main mind, and the rays of the candle, they're like the mental factors. Again, it's a very valid analogy, but there's a problem with it. A third analogy is like a king and the ministers. King is like the main mind, ministers, mental factors. Then another one is soup, the broth, and the vegetables and whatever else you've got in there. So the broth is like the main mind, and the rest, like the vegetable, the meat, whatever you've got in there, that is like the mental factors. Now, these are all nice analogies, but they all fall short. They have one shortcoming, I'd say. Think about it. What could that be? But anyway, here, I don't want to give away too much now because I want you to figure it out yourself. But the point is here, through its own power or on its own accord, is showing that the mental factor of doubt, if it's a mental factor, any mental factor, then it has a particular function which is illustrated or which is indicated by the words on its own accord or through its own power. In other words, all the other mental factors that are associated with it, that are concomitant with it, that are, accompany it, they are also doubting in this case, but it's through the power of that particular mental function, that particular mental factor. Does that make sense? Okay.
No,
No, it doesn't.
no. So I didn't understand what you meant. So the doubt is a mental factor itself. Then there are other concomitant mental factors with it.
Yes, yes.
doubt-
So with
Mhm.
every mind, you have at least 5 omnipresent mental factors. Yeah. So then doubt it's not one of the omnipresent factors. Now, if you have doubt, you have at least one main mind, 5 omnipresent mental factors plus doubt, at least 6. So if all the other mental factors, they're also doubting now. The mind is doubting, the mental factors are doubting, but it's through the power of that mental factor. Okay. All right. This is what this is saying. Let me read this. So the reason for saying by its own power is that doubt is a mental factor, and this qualification eliminates that the main mind and other mental factors which have similarity with it, which accompany it, are doubt. The main mind and other factors accompanying the mental factor of doubt also have qualms, are also uncertain, are also vacillating or wavering with regard to their object, but not by their own power. Rather, it is through the force of the doubting consciousness that accompanies them. Right? You put too much salt in the soup. You put like a really salty vegetable in the soup. That's like the mental factor, and then the whole soup becomes salty. But it comes actually from that super salty, I don't know, whatever vegetable that could be. You know, if you've soaked it in a lot of salt previously to adding it to the soup, then the whole soup becomes salty. Yes, Maya?
Just to make it clear, is it possible that the mental factor of doubt is there, but the other mental factors in the main mind don't play along?
That's impossible.
Not possible. Okay.
That's not possible. They always play along.
Okay. So if there's
Otherwise,
doubt, it's a doubt that takes over everything, kind of thing.
yes, otherwise it would not be one of its mental factors. That's when we go through like the what are the characteristics of a mental factor? A mental factor that is part of a main mind and part of other mental factors. One of the characteristics is what affects one, the rest is also affected. So by that kind of main function of this particular mental factor. So the meaning of in two directions is that the mind is thinking, is it this or is it that? Qualms mean it is undecided, it's uncertain. Doubt is a knower because it's a consciousness. In the Rato monastery, in the book Awareness and Knowledge, or the Lorig book of the Rato monastery, the definition given for a doubting consciousness is a knower that has qualms with regard to its own object. Is it qualms or is it qualms? Qualms. Okay. This seems to me that to be correct, because this seems to me to be more correct, because the division of awareness and knowers into seven is not in terms of minds and mental factors, but a general one. That's a really good point. That's a really good point on one hand. But on the other hand, we do talk about afflicted doubt. Are you aware of afflicted doubt? You've never heard of afflicted doubt? Okay. I briefly mentioned when talking about the mental afflictions, there is a division into 10, the 5 views and the 5 non-views, the 5 afflicted views and the 5 non-afflicted views. And so one of the non-afflicted views is doubt, afflicted doubt. What kind of doubt could that be? Could there be an afflicted doubt? Could there be a type of doubt that is really negative? What would that be?
I think it's with regards to things as cause and effect, or like the 3 jewels existing, or things like that, right? Or not?
No, actually, when we first come to the Dharma, we probably doubt it. That's a good type of doubt. That's from wrong view, it turns into doubt, and then we take it from there. Usually that's right. That's not something negative. So there must be another characteristic of doubt.
Is afflicted doubt the one that wavers and can't make up his mind?
That goes on forever. Yes, exactly. So as Maya is saying, so just saying I doubt cause and effect, like karma and so forth, that is in itself is not the problem. But constantly doubting, never being able to move past that doubt. And there's a beautiful analogy in Tibetan. They give it an analogy. If you have that type of doubt that can never give way to some kind of conviction and so forth, that's always stuck in that, oh, I don't know. That's like trying to stitch with a two-pointed needle. Anyone tried to do that? Try to stitch with a needle, that has that's got 2 points. Yeah, you thread the thread is still threaded into the needle, but it kind of splits into 2. You can't stitch with that. So similarly, you cannot, just as you cannot stitch, you cannot sew with this 2-pointed needle, you cannot progress on the path with this kind of afflicted doubt. Therefore,
Yes.
there's a virtuous doubt. Yes, please.
When there are some people who have continuous, like they're all the time doubting their partners, their children, everything. Does that have any correlation to what we're talking about, or is this needs to be 2 states? Because it's an affliction that you never see the true nature of anything. You're like, everything
Yes.
is.
Yes, I think that's one of those examples. That's an extreme case. Yeah. Yes. Of someone always doubting everything. Doubt, again, for a short time is good. It's a tool. But if it becomes obsessive, like anything, if it becomes obsessive, it becomes a problem. Yes, absolutely. All right. Anyway, it's past the time. So please read the rest of Doubting Consciousness, and then also start with correct assumption, if you can. I don't know how far we get tomorrow. I think what Latin Rinpoche says here, it's really nice. It's really helpful. And but anyway, we need to move on. So how much is the correct assumption? Yeah, reach as much as you can as you can for tomorrow. Great. Tomorrow is Friday. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Having thoroughly investigated in accord with all that I've heard, day and night through the whole series, my God, reflection on this topic of contemplation, may this discernment sever all doubts.
Okay. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
What are the four reasonings in prayer?
We're given in the second.